Miles's grades are pretty good. A in AP Physics.
That's my little man.
And AP Studio Art.
He takes after his uncle.
A- in English.
She's a tough grader.
And a B in Spanish.
What?
Ooh, okay.
Miles.
Are you trying to
Mira,
kill
eso
your
es
mother?
imposible.
Cálmate, mami. Eso no es my fault.
¿Qué es eso que esto no es my fault? Tú estás tomando una clase en Spanglish.
No, I just missed a few classes.
Oh, just a few classes. Well, what's a few?
I mean, you know, like 5.
5?
Actually 6.
You're dead.
Chris Scouser here with
Matt Howell. And this week on the first run, we take a ride one last time on the Mission Impossible train. We decide to accept that mission or not with possibly, I guess, Tom Cruise's last ride as Ethan Hunt with Mission Impossible Final Reckoning. We'll talk about why it's not called Dead Reckoning Part 2, considering there was a Dead Reckoning Part 1. But I digress, Chris. As always, we'll give you the big releases on physical media, the Viper video and streaming picks of the week. Then we'll wrap it all up with our 5 favorite action franchises. So that's going to be a good one. I'm excited for that.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Chris. You're always full of good ideas. So why don't you get this started with a little bit of Final Reckoning.
This can't all be true.
Every word. The CIA Black Vault break-in.
Am I reading this correctly? The Kremlin bombing?
In fairness, the bomb was actually meant to kill him.
He gassed a security briefing at the National Intelligence Directorate.
That was just 2 months ago. You two would have been in that meeting.
He arrived in the form of Mr. Kittredge's aide.
And left as Mr. Kittredge, I believe.
So, one of the hallmarks, Matt, of this last few films directed by Christopher McQuarrie in the Mission Impossible franchise has been this really, really annoying habit of having actors split up sentences amongst each other and them going around the room and each adding a part, right, to the sentence as they talk. And I hate it. I really, really hate it. And I do it like twice, I think, in this film. But at least this time they at least given us the I don't know, the respect to at one point to split it in different scene locations in one of them, where it's like it's weird where the dialogue is kind of meshing together, but the talkers are kind of in two different places. Then they're not talking to each other; they're talking to people that, you know, within their established shot. And that was one of those scenes. That was probably the least offensive one for me, though, Matt. Sorry, it's a pet peeve of mine that McQuarrie continues to do, and I don't know why.
You don't like it when people talk into like an improv prompt in the middle of the movie?
It's just so dumb. And then, if we don't light the fuse, someone else says, then global catastrophe. Someone else goes, and the world economy will crash. And then someone else, it's just
horrid. Well, Chris, right. that maybe underscore a, major point here. You have been a big champion of this franchise as a whole, right? I think more than I have been in the past, but although I would say the kind of later entries, the second half entries have brought me around some, but you were famously lukewarm on Dead Reckoning. Has this kind of righted the ship for you? Is this a fitting send-off, or is it just end on a bit of a down note for you?
Yeah, the latter.
Yeah,
I think. In fact, I think as a whole, I'm not really quite the right thing to say. Comparing the two films, I actually think this one is weaker.
Yeah.
Than Dead Reckoning Part 1, though I will say I think the stunts in this one are better.
Okay.
I know everybody goes all gaga about the motorcycle cliff jump thing. And I watched the behind-the-scenes kind of EPK featurette thing on that. And it looks pretty interesting and fascinating and dangerous and all. But there's a lot in the film I didn't care for. In this one, I think that the submarine thing is great. And also the the plane ride, though, the plane fight runs a little long.
Sure.
I think there's a bunch of times in this film where I confess I was on the edge of my seat, quite a few times, even though how is Ethan going to get out of this one? How's he going to do this, right? And I was like, holy cow, a couple times with specifically, the stunt stuff, the action set pieces.
Sure.
But it's like, even in that opening clip we heard, they're recapping the movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a big challenge I have with this film, is how I don't want to say lazy, but they're so focused on going out big that they kind of lose track of why I think these films worked in the first place. Particularly when J.J. Abrams came in and kind of righted the ship, for lack of a better term. I appreciate that there are people who enjoy John Woo's Part 2, and I'm one of them. I think it's very much a film of its time, and it needs to be watched in that way. But Abrams kind of gave it a more timeless, kind of universal action film appeal, and which I think then Brad Bird just, of course, blew out of the water with Ghost Protocol, and then McQuarrie kind of picks up the reins from there and does a really good job, particularly with, I would say, Fallout, right, which is probably my second favorite out of the whole run. But even in that recap, talk about other stuff. Don't just recap the first couple films. Well, not even the first one or two of the films, right? And then we go, well, this was just 2 weeks ago. Give me stuff like the time Ethan had to go to the moon. Or I don't know, something, right? I would like to have some other stuff thrown in, even though we don't get to see it. But I think my biggest complaint with this film is that I can feel the construction of it. The scaffolding is fully exposed for me throughout this entire thing. And that's kind of what I really struggled with. I don't know, Matt. What did you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think they are weirdly doing way too many callbacks to the quote-unquote Mission Impossible lore, right? Where they're bringing back characters where you're supposed to say, oh, it's that guy, right? And they have to like do a visual flashback so you even know who that guy is, right? I don't know if any of that's...
the Langley guy?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know...
Or who Shea Wiggum's character is. Yeah, just...
None of that's necessary. Like, Mission Impossible, to me, like, couldn't care less about the deeper lore of callbacks and things like that. I think if they're gonna do stuff like that, I think that's an interesting take where they reference missions that we never really saw, right? That would have been kind of fun to see, maybe in flashback, but I agree.
Not even that, just mention it. Like the time Ethan had to rescue
the Dalai Lama or something.
Or yeah, he had to rescue Dalai Lama from a pack of, super smart sharks or something. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I'm with you there. I think overall, while I liked Dead Reckoning more than you did, I think that one at the very least felt like a Mission Impossible film, right? It had a setup. It had a goal that they had to accomplish. What you thought of the goal is I guess a moot point. And then it does a bunch of like shenanigans and spy stuff that's really fun to kind of watch, right? I think the action set piece that I liked a lot in that film was the whole, train parkour thing while it's slowly falling off the bridge. I thought it was a neat sequence, right?
But I couldn't get past the fact that it's almost a shot-for-shot cinematic version of Uncharted 4, the video game.
Well, I never played Uncharted 4.
It's like that exact sequence happens in that video game.
I've never played that game, so I can't say. So as someone who didn't play Uncharted 4, I didn't have a problem with it, and I thought it was a fun sequence. But I digress. I think the main sin of this thing is it doesn't feel like a Mission Impossible film. It's so wrapped up in kind of trying to put this neat bow on everything that's come before it and kind of say, look, here's the full package. We're wrapping all of this stuff up. We've thought about every loose thread, even if you as the viewer didn't think that they were loose threads to begin with, and we're tying everything up in a super satisfying package for you. And I think just the effort of them trying to do that is what is basically its greatest failing. I mean, overall, you know, the action sequences when they're there, I mean, yeah, they're fun, but they're, you know, they seem very much more the same kind of to me. And I wasn't as impressed with them as I have been in the past.
Yeah. One of the things too, that when you talk about the lore that aggravated me is McQuarrie is like backfilling a bunch of stuff into the Mission Impossible lore, to stuff that we've never heard of before, like the motto about protecting the ones we hold close and the ones we never know, or something like that.
Right.
And there's like how you join the team, all these different things, it's weird because in the earlier films it's like this massive governmental organization, and then now though it feels like it's just Ethan and some randos all the time at this, you know, and it just, there's no consistency in the story. I appreciate you could say, well, it's because he keeps going rogue, which of course is another problem I've had with this franchise from the beginning, is I'd like to have like a legit just mission, right? Instead of him always going rogue every single film. But I don't know. It's just really bothered me, some of that stuff. Now, I will say I enjoyed the attempt to bring in some like heart to the film when it comes to that motto that they now all, you know, the oath that they take that we just heard about in the last film. And I see the attempts and what they're trying to do. I just don't find it to be very successful. Another thing, we really needed a better villain to go out on. And I'm not talking about just the entity, which if you heard me last week, if you heard my thoughts on Dead Reckoning Part 1, it's a horrible, horrible main villain, the entity. And they do a flashback thing with Mission Impossible Part 3, where they reveal that's actually like spoilers, the rabbit's foot, or the anti-god, is like the embryonic version of the entity.
Right.
And again, just really slapdashed ways of trying to tie everything together from the beginning. And then we have the fact that, but I'm not talking about the entity, I'm talking about Gabriel as well, right? Him as our other main side, secondary villain. It's just, the menace just isn't there. And even though he's responsible in a way for Ethan joining the Mission Impossible team, there's supposed to be he's responsible for the death of somebody you cared about, which of course is now the reason why Ethan refuses to allow any of his team members to die, why he refuses to give up on any of them, is because she passed away. But there's no story on that.
Right.
I have no idea why he's a bad guy, who he is, what brought him to that point in that moment in time. We don't know what that mission really was. We don't know any of that stuff. Or if that was even a mission, right? Or if he was just a thief back then and there's nothing there.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing there. And then probably the most infuriating thing after watching this film for me, what is Haley Atwell's point in this film?
Mm-hmm.
Why did we have to eject Rebecca Ferguson for Atwell? And I don't want to hear it's because she's a super thief and she could justify the switching of the thing and the moving of the things fast enough, right? There's no way you can't tell me that Ilsa Faust, with all the other abilities and things she's shown in the prior two films, that she couldn't have done the same damn thing. Mm-hmm. The only reason is some half-hearted, I guess, thought of McQuarrie's is to, again, kill somebody off every film that means something to Cruise to continue to drive him and kind of up the stakes. And it's just done really, I think, poorly. Mm-hmm. And I think that she was really kind of shafted by this series because she was really fun, interesting character. I like the dynamic between her and Tom Cruise. And this whole thing with Atwell feels so rushed and forced in that I just didn't buy a second of it. Mm-hmm. What about you? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely felt the weight of Rebecca Ferguson's presence being missed. I mean, I like her a lot, so I, unfortunately, between Atwell and Palm Clementif, they're not really, either one are not really able to fill her shoes, at least from that perspective. And yeah, I agree with you. I like Haley Atwell, right? I thought she was game.
So do I.
Yeah, I thought she was game, but I don't see any reason why you couldn't have both of them in the film if you really wanted to have Haley Atwell in it.
It's just she has a cooler name. Alyssa Faust.
Yeah,
Faust.
True.
Or Grace
versus Grace.
Come on,
Grace.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm looking at my notes here. No, yeah. I guess that's basically it. I think for me, the intensity of the big set pieces ended up rescuing this whole affair for me.
Okay.
It salvaged, I think, the entire film. I don't think it's as poorly written as part one is, but as Matt once told me about, what was it, Godfather 2, that it's a film that insists upon itself.
Can't take credit for that. I cannot take credit for that. But yes.
I know you quoted somebody else for it, but that's what I feel with this film, is that they got so up their own rears on making this gigantic, almost 6-hour goodbye for Tom Cruise's Ethan Hunt in the Mission Impossible franchise, which I'm assuming they'll reboot down the road with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
That it's just too much. It's too bloated, and they lose track. Man, Fallout is so lean and so well crafted.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know what happened. Unless everybody gets high on their own supply and then makes these last two films. And if I'm just basically just disappointed generally.
Well, I'm sorry for that, Chris. I'm sorry that you're disappointed, but I think, overall, I think the series, as a whole, did a nice job of redeeming itself for me. It's just a shame that we have to kind of go out on this weak note.
Yeah, just kind of limps across the finish line for me. It's I don't know, Matt. I'm giving it a C+.
Yeah, I've been vacillating between a C+ and a C. I think C+ may be a little generous, so I'm going to give it a C.
All right. So, and just to clarify too, Matt, I gave Dead Reckoning Part 1 a B+, and you gave it an A-.
Oh, did I? That's probably too high. I would probably drop it down to a B+.
Oh, okay. All right. Any other thoughts on the Final Reckoning? Do you think Tom Cruise is done, right? Nothing is, let's just say, not to spoil anything, nothing is final
right,
with Ethan Hunt in this film, right? So, and I will say, the stuff that they try and shoehorn here isn't as clumsy as the Blofeld James Bond, stepbrother thing, which my eyes rolled back so far in my head that I almost snapped my retinas when that happened. But it's just a disappointing way to end this franchise. I think the scores continue to be pretty good. I like the big dramatic strings and everything for this film and the prior one as well. I like that a lot.
I mean, I think ultimately what you're going to get is, he may show up again as kind of like the spy grandpa, right? Who they come and it's like Yoda. He shows up and they get some spy pointers is what you need, and then he disappears back into the background, kind of thing.
Yeah, he was a trainer in the third film until what's her name's character disappeared, and he had to come back into the field. Matt, let's do a quick little rank. I'm curious, are you up for that? You want to rank the films for me?
Sure.
Where would you put them?
Yeah. All right. So,
and then I'll do something on Letterboxd with it afterwards.
God, you know what? And what's weird about these films, especially like Ghost Protocol On, they all seem to kind of meld together for me. So I'm like, which one was with the Burj Khalifa? Which one was this? Which one was that? Right? So it gets to be a little difficult. Okay. So I think I like Fallout the most. Okay. And I think that's because of Henry Cable's villain. I think he's probably the best villain that we have, with the exception of maybe Philip Seymour Hoffman, right?
There's no question for me who the best villain is. It's P.S. Hoffman for sure. But okay, go ahead.
So I'd say Fallout, then I would say Rogue Nation, then Ghost.
A lot of people like that one. I don't know. All right.
Yeah, I could be swayed either way. If we're making a first one list, if you want to say Ghost Protocol's better, I could go that way. Yeah, Rogue Nation, Ghost Protocol, 3 maybe.
Okay.
Then Dead Reckoning. Then the first one. Then John Woo's entry.
Are you splitting up Dead Reckoning and Final
Oh,
Reckoning?
yeah, I guess so. I would put Final Reckoning... I guess I would put it above 2, but below the first one. I don't think the first one's great, but it does have some iconic scenes in it.
Yeah, I mean, the first one's a very different movie as part of the issue, too.
Sure.
So if I had to go, I'm probably still going to stick with Ghost Protocol as my one.
Mm-hmm.
Then I would go Fallout. And then I'm probably going to go Part 3 just because I love Philip Seymour Hoffman so much in that role in that film.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'll go Rogue Nation, I guess. Yeah. And then, I like Part 1 because it's a very different film. So I'd probably go 1, then Dead Reckoning, then 2, and then Final. I think that's my rank.
Wow, you liked 2 better than the one that's so John Woo-y. It sticks out like a broken thumb. I
like it for that.
This whole thing.
I kind of would have liked. I don't know if I'd liked. I wonder what it would have been like if we had like a very specifically stylized director do each film, and how. I mean, they wouldn't be cohesive in any capacity, right?
Yeah.
But it might be kind of fun to see how that would shake out.
All I can say is, and it's still funny every time I see it. Tom Cruise in that motorcycle chase, going up on the front wheelie, doing a front wheelie while sticking out guns on either side, shooting guys, and then some doves explode in front of that. It is the cheesiest thing. I laughed in the theater when I saw it, and I laugh every time I see it on replay.
It's funny when you started to talk, I knew that it was exactly the scene you were about to mention. So that's how. That means it's had a lasting impact.
You know what? Fair enough. Fair enough.
You know, it's funny. I'm on Letterboxd, and Mission Impossible 2 is. I know it's in here, but it's not coming up for me. That's very weird.
Interesting.
So I'll do a quick little double II. Hopefully that should bring it up. There it is. Good times. All right. So our discrepancies. You have Fallout. I have Ghost Protocol.
I mean, I could go. Which one is Ghost Protocol? That's the one. Is that the one where he climbs the side of the building?
Yes.
Okay. Then okay. I could put that. I could put that higher. Again, see, this is the problem. I'm getting confused of which one is which.
All right, and then I would say, since you had 1 Fallout and I had 2 Fallout, I think we can agree Fallout would be 2.
Yeah.
If you're willing to work with me on that.
Yeah.
All right, next up then you have Rogue Nation, I have Part 3.
But outside of Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Outside of that, Rogue Nation is better. Car Chase is really good in it. So I guess I'll ease up on that. I'll go Rogue Nation as 3. I'm okay with that. So then that gives us Part 3 after Rogue Nation.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now we're at the first film. We have The Reckonings, and we have Part 2. So I'm willing to work with you and go Dead Reckoning after 3.
Okay.
All right, does that work for you?
Yeah, sure.
Because you had, that's what you had. So I'm on board with that. Which then leaves Mission Impossible, Final Reckoning, and Mission Impossible 2.
Well, I think Mission Impossible should be next.
Yep.
So it's just a matter of which is worse, 2 or Final Reckoning. Final Reckoning.
Yeah. Well, you had Final above 1.
I did?
You went Final Reckoning, then Part 1, Part 2.
Oh, I think that was a mistake.
Okay. So where would you put that in your list then?
I would put Final Reckoning above 2.
But below 1.
Below 1, yeah. And it's tough because, you know what? Final Reckoning, the more, just like I'm thinking about the movie, right? And I'm just thinking about those flashbacks, and they're just making me more irritated every time I think about it. But at the same time, God, that shot, those scenes. But you know what? He has a singular vision. So if you want to put 2 above Final Reckoning, I could live with that.
Okay. All right, that works for me. And we're done. So you can go ahead on my Letterboxd. You can find it there. Just do a search for, it's under me, right? I think it's under actually me, Chris Scalzo. So you'll have to find it there. Or just search for the first run. It will be there too as well. All right, cool. Yeah, Chris Scalzo. There you go. What are your thoughts on Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Shoot us an email at feedback@thefirstrun.com. Matt, let's talk about what's coming up next week. Next week at the big show. Calm your horses, Chris. Let's talk about what's coming up on physical media this upcoming Tuesday, June 6th. I think we are. Are we getting a 4K release on that? On this? I think we are.
Central Services.
Central Services.
Oh, yes. You rang, sir.
You rang, sir.
Trouble with your air conditioning?
Air conditioning, sir.
No, it's all right. It's fixed. Fixed?
Fixed?
Yes, I mean, it, fixed itself.
Oh, it fixed itself?
Fixed itself. Yes. These don't fix themselves.
No, they don't fix themselves, sir.
He's tampered with it.
I think he's tampered with it, Mr. Stewart.
Sorry you've had a wasted journey. I think we will have a little look at you. No, you can't.
I think we should do, yes.
Have you got a 27B stroke 6?
27B stroke 6. 27B stroke 6.
Now look what you've done to him. Well, have you got a 27B stroke 6?
Not as such.
We'll get one.
Terry Gilliam's brilliant Brazil is being released in 4K by Criterion. I was able to get my hot little hands on a copy a couple of weeks ago, thanks to my good pals over at ViperVideoTampa.com. That includes a brand new 4K restoration of Terry Gilliam's director's cut, supervised and approved by Terry himself. Audio commentary, but basically all the other features in the prior Criterion set are ported over into this 4K release. Let's start our countdown, shall we?
Number 5.
Sandpiper is putting a bunch of stuff back into print. So if you didn't get to pick up these Blu-rays before and you're interested, well, now you can. Mel Brooks' Life Stinks, A Midsummer Night's Dream from 1968. Malice, this is that great neo-noir with Nicole Kidman, and Bill Pullman, and Alec Baldwin. I love that film. There's the here and the now and the needle in the haystack. It's such a great, just screen-devouring performance by Alec Baldwin on that thing. Great Balls of Fire, the Jerry Lewis film featuring Dennis Quaid. Rush, the 1991 film, which features probably my favorite Eric Clapton song, Help Me Up. Charge of the Light Brigade. And then finally, the heartwarming comedy did it win Best Picture? I think it may have. Leaving Las Vegas, being released on Blu-ray by Sandpiper. So what's our 4?
4!
Cinematograph is releasing Swimming to Cambodia. This is Vinegar Syndrome's kind of more, how do I put this kindly, respectability line. Their version of the Criterion Collection, I guess. This is Spalding Gray as he discusses his participation in the film The Killing Fields in 1984 and the background story about the troubles of Cambodia. Brand new 2K restoration of that. A new audio commentary with film critic Scout Tafoya. A new video interview with Roland Yaffe, who directed The Killing Fields, and a bunch of other stuff is included on that as well. Next up,
get 3 coffins ready.
Shout Factory is putting out a 4K of Sam Peckinpah's great Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia. You have Mr. Why am I blanking? I want to say Warren Oates, but I feel like that's not the right. Regardless, he plays an American bartender and his prostitute girlfriend that go on a road trip map through the Mexican underworld to collect a $1 million bounty on the head of a dead gigolo. A brand new 4K restoration scan from the original camera negative, audio commentaries, and a brand new interview with writer film historian Julie Kurgo on the making of the film. I bought this on Blu-ray from, I want to say Kino? May have been Shout Factory back in the day. No, Warner Archive. I got there. So, yeah, great little film if you haven't seen it. Sam Peckinpah's thing.
I have 2 words. Perfect love and perfect trust.
Scream Factory is also putting out Monkey Shines. This is the original George Romero horror film from back in the day. Is it 80s? I think it's 80s. Includes a brand new 4K restoration, a new audio commentary with film critics Eric Vespi and as well as author Daniel Kraus, the archival commentary by Romero himself, and alternate ending, deleted scenes, and more. And then your numero uno.
There can be only one.
Freaky Tales, a film we did for the show a little while back, a little anthology film that I rather enjoyed, is being released. You get a Blu-ray, or exclusively, it appears, a steelbook from Lionsgate themselves, and it comes in a retro steelbook that is like a clamshell, kind of from like the 80s type thing. I gotta admit, I'm thinking about it. I love the look of that damn thing. So, and I did enjoy Freaky Tales. So I might. I also include some stickers as well, Matt. I love me some stickers. Stuff being released in 4K. When Evil Lurks, available already on Blu-ray. Possibly one of the more disturbing scenes in a horror film that I've seen in the past 5 to 10 years. Though maybe it doesn't quite stick the ending, but it's being released in 4K. Also, Criterion is putting out Mishima, A Life in 4 Chapters, portrait of the acclaimed Japanese author and playwright Yukio Mishima. Brand new 4K restoration of the director's cut of that. The film, of course, directed by Paul Schrader. Includes 2 alternate English narrations, including one by actor Roy Scheider, and a whole bunch more. And then, of course, we did talk about Brazil being released in 4K. Your Viper video pick of the week, I'm going to go with Rats! ! It's Texas, 2007. Emo kid Raphael is in jail following an arrest for graffiti. He's a good guy. It's just graffiti. So you can't blame him for the events after his arrest. Matt, he's not responsible for the sting operation, the severed hands, the FBI, Larry the Pig, the plutonium deal gone wrong, or anyone who may die due to that deal turning sour. None of it is Raphael's fault, but it is his problem. The bonus features, I'm not really comfortable saying what they are, so just look them up yourself. There's a unique spelling of the word director's commentary. Part 1 includes MILFs, DILFs, and kills. Part 2 is, again, that commentary word spelled inappropriately with that same words, with the word community being spelled that same way. And then more. There's also a featurette called I Love Selling Crack. Don't clip that, please. And more. Just a bunch of weird stuff. I have no idea what this film is. Oh, Blumpkins is included as a deleted. All right, let's move on. Matt, what should we be streaming this week?
I mean, is it a lot of See You Next Tuesdays? Is that what we're saying here?
No, it's more the slang term for a release.
Oh, gotcha.
I'm concerned this may be an adult film that I'm actually reading about here, but I hope I'm wrong.
Very good. All right, well, I'm going to recommend Novocaine, Jack Quaid, and the always delightful Amber Midthunder, about a guy who can't feel any pain, and his girlfriend or his new love interest is kidnapped, so he goes on a rip-roaring ride to get her back. It's available on Paramount Plus.
I'd say it's worth a watch, but that's about as far as I would go. I don't know if it's something I'd ever rewatched. But it's enjoyable enough. Matt, let's talk about our 5 favorite action franchises. Here's one. Didn't quite make the list for me. I made a restriction on myself. I needed 3 good entries.
Okay.
All right? You can have a dozen films. You could have 3. But I needed 3 good entries.
Right.
So here's one that didn't make the cut.
What you doing, you pig-head sucker?
Every day for the last 10 years, Loretta there has been giving me a large black coffee. Today she gives me a large black coffee, only it's got sugar in it. A lot of sugar. I just came back to complain. Now you boys put those guns down.
Say what?
Well, we're not just gonna let you walk out of here.
Who's we, sucker?
Smith and Wesson and me.
That, of course, me is Dirty Harry, Clint Eastwood, Matt. Honorable mention for me as an action franchise. I'd say 3 of those films I think are really good. One is pretty good. Deadpool, Have you seen all the Dirty Harry movies?
I don't think I have. I don't think I have seen them all.
That might be a fun
marathon.
We talked about doing a marathon at some point.
That'd be a good one. Yeah, definitely.
All right, start us off, Matt. What's your fifth favorite action franchise?
Oh boy, I'm gonna ruin Chris's day right off the spot. My number 5 is the quintessential spy series, James Bond 007.
Have you not seen like half of them?
I've seen a lot of them. But I will admit I've not seen all of them. Right?
That's a franchise a marathon I'd love to do at some point.
Yeah, and the reason it's so low on my list, now granted, there are some iconic films in this. There are things that set the template, but there's a lot of films, and there's a lot of, I will be generous and say weaker entries, right? I don't know if the quality, because there's so many of them, that the quality runs all the way through consistently, and that's why it's number 5 on my list. But I'll stop there because I'm pretty confident that's going to show up somewhere again by a true believer later in the list.
Number 5?
That is unacceptable to me. Number 5. All right, my number 5 then, I think just gets in by the skin of its teeth. But the first 3 films, particularly the first and the third, I think are all-timers. In fact, the first one redefined the action genre at the time it was released. I am, of course, talking about Die Hard.
Oh, yeah.
Die Hard and Die Hard with a Vengeance. Fantastic films, both of them. Second one's really good. I think it's a little unfairly maligned. A little diminishing returns after that, especially with that last one when he goes to Russia, right, with America's Sweetheart, Jay Courtney. Though we're going to do that. I want to do that Jay Courtney shark movie, which is supposed to be really, really good. I don't know, Matt, if you've seen anything about that yet. But still, John McClane, Bruce Willis, when we actually had a guy, just a guy, against all odds, trying to save his girl, stop the building from getting blown up, stop the thieves, whatever the case may be. And it's his vulnerability, his fact that he is just the wrong guy, or the right guy at the wrong time, right? Basically, it's what the hallmark of that franchise, which kind of lost its way by those final 2 films. But those first 3, man, they're all-timers. And Bruce Willis just smirking his way through the whole thing. An absolute blast. So, all
right. There you go. Yeah, honorable mention for me. I think Chris nails it, on the head, is the thing really lost its way. The entire point of that franchise, when it was just an everyman who just somehow pulls out what he needs to do, and by the 4th film, he's like a superhero, right? And like that's like the joke. So yeah, I agree with you though. Die Hard, all-timer, honorable mention for me though. All right, so my number 4 then is, using Chris's criteria, I think would also say that it gets in by just the skin of its teeth, but the first one is a perfect film. It is a perfect film. And the third one is really, really good. I'm talking about the Indiana Jones series, a kind of throwback to the 1930s and 40s serials. When you think of an action film, maybe not necessarily what first comes to mind, but it is a different type of action film, and those first 3 films are eminently rewatchable, even if the second one does take a marked dip in quality. It's still a lot of fun, but how are you supposed to follow up, from Raiders of the Lost Ark?
I rewatched Temple of Doom like a year or so ago. And I enjoy it a lot more now that I'm older than I did when I first watched it. I think it is just as good as, well, all right. It's not just as good as Raiders, but it's right there.
Sure.
Or it's right. It's just one tiny little step down instead of being a 2-foot drop or whatever, or 10-foot drop like maybe I thought it was when I was younger. And Indy's my 4 as well. I seriously consider not including it on the list because I classify that, and this is cutting or
splitting hairs.
Splitting hairs, thank you. That it's more of an adventure film than like a straightforward action film. Like I think the rest of the films in my list, perhaps. But still, I had to give it its due. It's Indiana Jones. And I like Dial of Destiny. Some people don't care for it. I think it's enjoyable enough.
Right.
But those first 3 films, again, are all-timers for sure as well. So yeah, Indy's my 4.
Fantastic. All right, so then my number 3 then is the film we just got done talking about, the Mission Impossible series. I think overall, with as many of them that there have been, I think I was generally unimpressed with the first film. The second film I was not on board with, but they steadily got better. And when you had Gross Protocol kind of doing the reset on the franchise, I think it really did a lot to kind of really solidify it as one of the major action franchises of the last 20 years.
Absolutely, and it's my number 3 as well. Boy, this is an exciting list. Yeah, up to the last couple films for me, and maybe my number 2, Mission Impossible had been, I think, the most consistent action franchise that was currently running at the time, now that it is at least going to be mothballed for a little bit. So, yeah, maybe we, tripped over ourselves these last couple of films. But prior to that, and like I said, particularly that run of 4, 5, and 6 are all very, very, very good. So, yeah, Mission Impossible is my 3.
Yeah. All right, so my number 2 then is, again, dips into the sci-fi action a little bit, but it's more of a post-apocalyptic event film. But I'm talking about the Mad Max series. The first one is really good. The Road Warrior, the second one, is an all-timer. It is a classic kind of early 80s, late 70s type of film. Thunderdome is not great. It's kind of corny, but then it kind of comes roaring back out of nowhere with Fury Road, maybe one of the greatest action films ever made. And Furiosa, its latest entry, was still quite enjoyable and still really good, even if it wasn't at the same heights as Fury Road. So I think from beginning to end, with the exception of Thunderdome, I think Mad Max is a really solid entry. And again, because of Fury Road itself, it had to elevate it up to number 2 for me.
Yeah, I think Thunderdome isn't really bad either. It's just that second half of the kids, everything is kind of just, just screeches to a halt a bit for me. But yeah, Mad Max is an honorable mention for me. If you give me enough pops in me, maybe I could swap it out with Die Hard just in the strength of Fury Road alone. Sure. But yeah, so that's an honorable mention for me. My number 2 then, which since I haven't heard it yet, I think is going to be Matt's number 1. Which is the John Wick franchise. I remember, again, seeing those first posters, like Keanu Reeves is John Wick, and I'm like, yeah, and what is he like? Is he custodian? What does he do? What's the big deal here? And then ended up being one of the most relentless and consistently entertaining and groan-inducing and oh my god, as in like, oh my god, that had to hurt, right? Or inventive action franchises, perhaps in my lifetime. And just great stuff all around. And each film, I think, is good. I think the third film is the weakest, and it's still great. So John Wick is my 2.
So yeah, John Wick is my number 1, and I think that is the main reason that you listed out. There's 4 films. Each one of them, even if one of them is not as great as the one that maybe before it, they're all great. They're consistently strong. There's not a weak entry in the entire bunch. And it is endlessly inventive in the way that they can kind of do these kind of action set pieces, and it's just relentless throughout the whole damn thing. So John Wick, I think, is really set the bar for me for action franchises. So it has ultimately, has dethroned some contenders and some champions from the past.
That's nice.
Yeah, I agree. That's a new clip I got. I love that one.
That's nice.
Yeah, it is nice. My number 1 then is going to be Matt's 5. It's a little bit of nostalgia. I find things to enjoy in all of the James Bond films. So even the Moonraker, before we get into space, is great. The film I probably have the least affection for is A Man with a Golden Gun, but I do love Christopher Lee in that role, and so there's a lot good to enjoy. And maybe, I think they thankfully dialed back the racism of Live and Let Die. If you ever read that book, woo, buddy. But still, for me, and then again, probably just I don't know, smothered in nostalgia. But the James Bond franchise has been there for me over and over again. And the fact that you can churn out that many entertaining films with a rotating cast, but also of directors and creative people. It's a wonder, really, of movie making that franchise has run that long and been that consistently good. So James Bond is my one.
Yeah. Fair.
Matt, honorable mentions?
So besides Die Hard, the only other one that I'll mention is the Bourne series. I think those first three are really, really solid. I think they were never kind of able to capture the magic in some of the later entries, but those first three are really a lot of fun.
Yeah, I would throw Terminator in there. Though I went back and forth because the first one is kind of sci-fi, action, even kind of horror in a way. I like part 3. I don't think it's bad. And then one of the later sequels I actually enjoyed, the one with Diego Luna, who plays the other Terminator, and Mackenzie something or other plays the good Terminator. I can't remember which one that is. I still hate the one where they rebooted everything and made John Connor the Terminator, just blowing up the whole conceit of the franchise. I never understood that. The Jackie Chan Police Story series, all of those are really good. Lethal Weapon, the Matt said Bourne. I would say, well, there aren't 3 good ones, so I guess I should take Death Wish off my list. The Mummy franchise, but that's maybe more adventure. I think those first 3 films are pretty good. The first 2 are great. Rambo, I like 1, 2, and 4.
Okay.
I think 3's, yeah. RoboCop doesn't make the cut.
No.
The first film is a classic. That second film, I have a weird, sick, perverse affection for. Jack Ryan, interesting, wasn't an honorable mention for Matt. I'm surprised by that. Donnie Yen in Ip Man series. I think almost all of those are good. And here's to that. No MCU and no Spider-Man from you, huh?
Yeah, so I kind of went back and forth. I felt like comic book films were really like their own genre. So even though they are like an action film, if you ask me, name an action franchise, I would kind of set comic book films aside.
So I can pull out Superman and Batman as well.
I would.
All right, and no Star Wars. Too sci-fi.
Yeah, that was the other thing. I thought it was a little too sci-fi. Again, I didn't really think it was an action film. I mean, I was really trying to figure out a way I could shoehorn aliens in there as one of the greatest action films of all time, but I couldn't. I could make it work. So same thing with Star Wars.
Here's the one that wasn't on either of our lists that I think some people may take issue with, and I'm curious for your thoughts. The Matrix franchise.
The reason that they weren't on my list is because the first one is an all-time masterpiece. The rest of them are middling at best. That's why it wasn't on my list.
Agreed. Same with me. Why it's an honorable mention. There are, unfortunately for me, in my opinion, there are not 3 really good Matrix films. So there you are. All right, folks. What's your favorite action franchise? Shoot us an email at feedback@thefirstrun.com. We would love to hear from you. Matt, what's coming up next week on the big show?
Next week, we are checking out the latest film from the duo that brought us Talk to Me. So we are checking out, I forgot what it was called. Bring Her Back. Thank you. Bring Her Back. So yet another horror film from that duo. So we'll see. I hear it's pretty good. So I'm looking forward to it.
Sweet. In the meantime, check us out at thefirstrun.com. You can find archives of all the old shows. There's even a little player there. You just go here, hit play, and then they'll start running through all of them. Their report card is there, which I think I need to update. I think we're a little bit behind there. And more. And then find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Blue Sky. Just do a search for The First Run. Scroll. Eventually you'll find us. And then head over to Apple Podcasts. Give us a review. It'll help other people find the show. And that is that for this week. We love you all very much. Please take care of yourselves, and we will see you all soon. Thank you.
Go ahead. Make my day.